fine irony. Iron Studios made this entire Sentinel line, 1/10 scale that you see in front of me. This is Sentinel number 2. I recently did a video on Sentinel number 3. However, I only plan to buy Sentinel number 1, yet I don't even have that one. As the Extreme channel is pushing towards 50,000 subscribers, these are just a few of the statues we're giving away on the journey there. If you want to know how to win one, stay tuned for later in the video. Hey guys, welcome to the Extreme channel. Today I'm going down the rabbit hole with Sentinel number 2. As I said in the intro, I recently got Sentinel number 3. If you didn't watch that video, just a quick backstory. I ordered Sentinel number 1 and Iron Studios canceled my order not once, not twice, but 3 times. So I said, screw it, I'm not going to get any of them. I forgot that I had Sentinel number 3 on order from Sideshow, and they shipped it and charged my bank without even telling me, so I got that in and I decided at least review it for you guys. Now, I definitely didn't want Sentinel number 2. We'll come back to that because, kind of a spoiler, I did get him, if you didn't figure that out, Einstein. But I really wanted number 1 because it had some of the quintessential X-Men characters, and now I can't find it anywhere. And while I had no plans to get Sentinel number 2, somebody messaged me and said, hey, he's available on Sideshow Seconds. He's $200 off retail. So I decided to go ahead and nab him. I decided to keep Sentinel number 3, and now I'm on the hunt for Sentinel number 1. Plus, I bought a ton of proximity pieces, both ones that are currently out and then more that are in order. In a few days, I'm going to do a review of like 5 or 6 proximity pieces that I already got in. I'm going to complete the entire display despite the fact that I think Iron Studios dropped the ball in paint and sculpt on these, and that is still evident, especially in this piece. So you're going to see some negative scores during the review, but the more and more I look at these pieces, the more I love the concept, which is where we're going to start our review today. I think the concept is absolutely phenomenal, not only from each Sentinel piece individually, but as a whole it makes it even better. As a reminder, these are huge 1/10 scale battle dioramas of both X-Men and the Brotherhood, which are the evil mutants in the X-Men storyline from Marvel, fighting against Sentinels who are trying to eradicate all mutants. And the battle is taking place both inside the Charles Xavier mansion and outside, and you see that here. So on the bottom underneath you have some brick, you have stone, you have concrete, depending on which way you're looking at it. It shows kind of the underneath of what you would see in the mansion. However, we know that there's usually a jet down there, but we're not going to get into that. On the top, you see the insides. The floors are completely destroyed, both by the Sentinels, both by some of the stuff happening around them. Looks like a wall is crushed in. We'll look at that closer during paint and sculpt. Some furnishings and some doors that, as I said, both the Sentinel and the people fighting the Sentinel actually destroyed. And the more I look at this one, it's kind of interesting that I don't know if Magneto and Juggernaut are actually fighting the Sentinel or they're fighting the X-Men. Because as you move up, you see Gambit and Juggernaut. One of the reasons I didn't want to get this, it only has 3 proximity pieces or 3 characters. It actually looks like Juggernaut and Gambit are fighting each other, not the Sentinel. So maybe the story is different than I originally thought. I thought everyone was attacking the Sentinel. Now that I have this in hand and I'm looking at it close, I see that's not the case. Because it also appears that the Sentinel has fallen and Magneto is now controlling him because he controls metal. He has a flying effect above him. He's raising the hands. So maybe now the Brotherhood is using this huge battle as a strategy to also take out the X-Men, which honestly, I think that makes the concept even cooler. And you can kind of label it however you want. I mean, especially with the proximity pieces that you'll see next to him. Now, if you want to see what that looks like, check out the Extreme channel's social media. The link is in the description below. I post stuff on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. But either way, huge epic battle going on of the quintessential X-Men characters from Sentinels to Magneto, Juggernaut, Gambit, and I love it. I think this concept is phenomenal. I recently did a vlog for the Extreme channel members of the YouTube, and I said, you know what, honestly, conceptually, I would give these higher than a 5 out of 5 rating. I think they're a 6 out of 5, which is what makes them so good. I think Iron Studios really did a good job just creating this entire line, despite the fact it covers a heavy price tag, which we'll talk about in value. Now with design, this one they honestly did a really good job. Before I look at the unboxing and assembly, just one little Easter egg I saw in the design. Right here on the base is something that was on the same base as this statue right here. So I wonder if that's where Professor X was supposed to go, but it was the same carpet, same chessboard, same table turned over. Kind of interesting because that was the first piece I bought in this line, and I bought that probably 2 or 3 years ago before the Sentinels even came out. But for now, let's look at the unboxing and assembly. This one was pretty easy. Now, because it was on Sideshow Seconds, they had to make a makeshift outer box, which really isn't a big deal because you still had the traditional Iron Studio stuff on the inside, the foam and the tape. So here's the first layer that had the base and a few of the characters, a few other pieces that go on the base as well. And of course the second layer right here with the Sentinel and Juggernaut and Magneto.
Previously on Xmen.
Now, believe it or not, this one does have a switch out option. There's two portraits for Magneto. Both aren't very good in my opinion. The unhelmeted portrait sucks. And if he was fighting the X-Men, he would never be without his helmet. So here's the helmeted portrait, the one I intend to display. Now I'm going to do my best to measure this, but I'd go to Iron Studios' website. So if this was the front, the widest point is probably 21 inches or so. I'm probably way off. The deepest point is almost 2 feet. And then Magneto's hand is just under 27 inches or so. So I love the dynamic aspect of this. I give him a lot of props. The ground exploding everywhere, nothing was broken. Obviously the characters are in mid-action. I think they get a ton of props for this. And I like this one a lot more than I thought I would. And that was kind of the situation with number 3. Number 3 was kind of my favorite. Number 1 had the coolest characters. And then this one I just had no interest in. But I'm pretty stoked now that I have them because I also think the design is a 5 out of 5. I can't find anywhere they would improve. However, I can find a lot of areas they would improve in the paint and sculpt. And I think the characters in this look much better than they did in some of the characters in number 3. But I am not a fan of the base at all. And then some of the same Sentinel issues we'll look at. Check it out. Let's start with the base, which I think is a complete miss. Still some styrofoam on here. So first, I do like that they added, you got some concrete blocks there, you got some normal bricks, then some concrete below. I like the fact that there's different types of material, but it looks horrible. It looks like trash. I'm sorry, this just looks toyish and amateur, and I think it's not only the plain paint that's on there, but the sculpt as well. Not a fan of any of this at all. The bricks look a little bit better, but not much. And honestly, it doesn't get any better when you go up to this wood floor. This wood floor looks horrible in my opinion. And I've seen some excellent sculpted wood floor, even from Iron Studios. I remember their Wolverine vs. Juggernaut diorama that I used to own looked really good. Why couldn't they replicate that? But I don't know if it's mostly the sculpt, I think, on this, but I think the paint doesn't help. And then look at here, the brick wall that he had come down. It almost looks like it's melted and mushed together. That shouldn't have happened with the trampling, so I don't think that was intentional, and it just does not look good. There are a few redeeming features, like I like the door knockers on here, the tables, the cabinets that are knocked over. I think those look decent. And I do understand with 1/10 scale, it's harder to get some of the detail we see on that we see on the bigger pieces, but this is a bigger piece. So with the Sentinel, what I like about this one is how he's kind of crushed in different areas. Where all the wires are coming out, this looks very fake to me. Not a huge fan. They overdid it on the rust again. Not as bad as Sentinel number 3, but the rust coloring in there, I think the black shading and the dents on it look good. You can see some of the circuitry in there. Has that same type of spine. I like how the arm's ripped off, but again, it looks very mediocre, very toy-like. I love how damaged this one is. I think it really adds to why I like the concept so much, because you see that in his portrait up here as well. Some hoses and pipes and everything ripped away. I think the Sentinel portrait on this one is much better than the other one. It still has that Curious George factor. But this one makes more sense why there's so much battle damage and shading and black scoring on it, simply for the fact that it is in the middle of a battle and it has been defeated. But again, they went overboard on the rust here, just like they did the last one. The gears in between the fingers, too rusty. But they did do the characters justice in this, in my opinion. Other than the portrait on Magneto, the anatomy's decent. I've seen better. I'm not digging his belt right there. I don't like the metallic brackets around it. They added some texture in the traditional areas around the thighs. A lot of buckles around his boots. They look decent. His cape flowing looks nice. I don't know the dirt they put on the end. I'm not a fan. It's more orange. But even some nice detail on the gauntlets on his gloves. Really hard to get to focus. But the portraits are just like you saw earlier, in my opinion, a horrible miss. I like the shine on the helmet. That's kind of like how I like to see my Magneto. Gambit is really good, in my opinion. They did a nice job, not only on his jacket, but great looking portrait. Not sure about the expression on his face. I think the shine on the purple is just perfect. It adds some color to the statue. I like the translucent resin here that they used for the cards. They chose some random cards, nothing, like all aces, which I'm okay with. I know some collectors had some issues with that. His pole is actually metal. I like that they did that. Armored boots look great. Gambit's done really well, and I think Jugs is too. So on Juggernaut here, again, some cool buckles on his shoes. This leather type material you traditionally see on the boots. Some texture and some wear on the bottom. Kind of hard to get a good look at his anatomy because he's twisting, but that's what adds to the statue. His portrait you really can't see, but what you can see does look decent. I think the coloring on the skin looks good. There's a little bit of bleed over, like right here especially in the paint, and you see that in a few other places in the statue I'm not a fan of. So these characters, I think, look much better than some of their other ones. But yeah, it's such a hit and miss on this statue. Certain things are great and certain things aren't. And you know, I would have liked to see better. But when you step back, I think that's when you get the full magnitude, and that's why people like these so much. That's pretty impressive. So sculpt. I think the characters are done well. I would actually give the characters maybe even a 4, but I think overall, when you consider all the things we looked at, like the base and the Sentinel, I think the sculpt is a 2 out of 5 at best, which is a little bit disappointing, honestly, although I do like the Sentinel better on this one than I did number 3. Paint, a lot of the same stuff. The characters look good, not great. I would probably give the characters a 3, although some of that bleed over I don't like, but I think I have to give the paint a 2 out of 5 overall. It is disappointing, especially when you consider such a high price tag that these command. So let's talk about that in value. These retailed at $1,300. Now, I was fortunate this was on Sideshow Second, so I got $190 off, which I think is a fantastic deal, which help covers the massive amount of tax and shipping, which puts this right back up there at $1,400. So this is about $300-400 cheaper than the other ones, and you only have 3 additional characters in your Sentinel, let's be honest, is incomplete. So I don't think the value is as good as the other ones, probably indicative of why you can still really easily get this one. But you're getting a lot for what's going on. So at a $1,300 price tag, I think the value is okay. I think it's a 3 out of 5 on this particular piece because I'm really comparing it to some 1/4 scale pieces, and even 1/3 are ranging $1,300 to $2,000. The problem I have with it, as we talked about last time, is if you're going to go all in this, you're probably $10,000 in for this entire diorama. Now, does this have the X factor? Is this a 5 out of 5? You know, I don't think it is. It's a lot better than I thought it would be.
Hey, that's what she said.
I still like number 3 better, but I like the action dynamic aspect of this. To me, this is more of one that has a lot of motion and fluidity to it. Oh, I said fluidity. So I am very happy with the purchase, especially since I got them for such a good deal. If anyone is selling number 1 for non-raping prices, I am down. So just get a hold of me. There's plenty of ways. You can check in the description of this video. But I'm stoked to have this. I am glad that I ended up getting number 3, other than the fact all the money it's costing me. I think this is going to look phenomenal. Again, I have a new setup right over there. We will be giving all of these statues away, plus additional ones at every 5,000 subscriber milestone. To win one of these statues, all you have to do is make sure you've liked this video, you've subscribed to the channel, you've hit that bell notification, and then just drop a comment below. Every 5,000 subscriber milestone, we are going to do a random drawing and pick a random comment and give one of these statues away, plus some additional ones I'm not showing right now. The more videos you comment on, the higher your chances are to win. Really appreciate you guys going through my retirement where I just buy new random $1,300 statues. But this is a pretty cool piece overall. I think they're going to look fabulous together. I've seen other pictures. Please, if you like this, hit that subscribe button. Tons of cool content coming up. Also, make sure to drop me a like on the way out. It really helps. In the meantime, check out some of these other videos. Take care.